Welcome to Value Research Helpline. We are getting your questions and I'm here to answer them. Let me get cracking on, get started with this. Anil Kumar is asking the question which is on top of everybody's mind, that after recent multi-cap regulation, would it not be better that to invest in ELSS above ATC requirement, as they are essentially multi-cap fund managers, and fund manager still has the freedom? Lock-in period shouldn't be a problem because equity investment is anyway for the long term. Yes, it might be a good idea, and in fact it will be a good idea for investors who are getting started, simply because when you are forced to invest in a fund where you can't take your money out for 3 years, your experience generally turns out to be good, because many a times this is the liquidity which an open-end fund provides. It tempts you to that, okay, it has gone down, and if you panic, then you are at liberty to take your money out, and that causes a problem. It will be, but you have to choose the fund carefully, because that is also the other side of the story, which is once you put your money and you will see your fund crumbling, or the fund manager has gone, or something bad happens to the fund, and you will be forced to stay there for 3 years. So be careful. It might not be a bad idea, but all said and done, this multi-cap regulation is going to get diluted, in a sense that SEBI chairman has gone on record to say that they will be allowing a new kind of category of fund, which will be flexi-cap category. Those funds will be at liberty to move anywhere. So I think all the funds which are going to face a problem, or they will be constrained to actually align with the SEBI's new guideline to have a minimum of 25% to small cap and mid cap and large cap, they will simply be changing their category. So there won't be much of a difference. But ELSS is not a bad idea. You just have to choose the fund carefully. This is a question which is, I don't know what his name is, but his mail ID is, the thing is, it's DIY Bill. So, Mr. Bill, his question is, when and how do I decide a mutual fund is not giving good enough return? Just set up your investments at Value Research Online, and you will get your return, even for your SIP series, against the benchmark. And in all those specific funds, you can also look at the fund's performance vis-a-vis their peers. So that's don't look at the appropriate time frame, because when it comes to equity, look at 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, 10-year return. When it comes to debt funds and shorter maturity funds, look at narrower period, shorter period, 1 year, 6 months, 1.5 year, and try to look for the reason. And if it is a nominal difference, don't be tempted, because every fund goes through a brief patch of poor performance or good performance. And very hard to decode. But in the long run, in the full market cycle, things do stand out. So look at the return time frame appropriately, and don't be tempted to act just because the fund is doing little poorly in near term. Abhinav Vajpayee is asking that VR ratings of multi-cap funds change quite often. Franklin-focused equity funds, Aditya Birla Sun Life equity funds have fallen out of favor. How should an investor choose multi-cap funds based on VR Value Research, as ratings cannot be criteria for it? Is analyst choice something to go for? Yes, Value Research ratings also, I would say that they are not as volatile as you perceive it to be, because Value Research rating is a quantitative measure. It grades funds based on its relative performance to its peers, and not only return but also risk. So if a fund happens to be, if a fund generates 20% return, 2 funds generate 20% return, and one fund does it with far greater volatility, that might get slotted as a lower rated fund. And because we take 3-year, 5-year return on a month basis, adjusted for the risk, and then compute the score based on which these funds get graded into the 5 categories, 5 rating categories. So I would say that they're not that volatile. It happens gradually. Suddenly this fund has not turned out to be, become 2-star rated fund, unless until something dramatic happens. The fund goes in a free fall, and while the peers don't at all. and then it can happen, but otherwise it doesn't. And it is very much a reflection of sustained underperformance of Franklin focused equity fund. So I would say that use value research rating as a flag, as a I've always thought that value research ratings are very useful for people to weed out, narrow their universe, and after that use your subjectivity. I would say what additional thing that we offer, which you should go for, not as a selection, as a selection tool. Yes, value research analyst choice, which you find in Mutual Fund Insight every month, and not only that, these ratings are the analyst choice is a hand-picked selection by fund analyst, and our fund analyst, a team of 5-7 people who are talking to the fund manager, understanding the rationale, or what is driving the performance. Is it luck or is it by design? So we try to figure it out. There is a possibility that there might be a great performing fund, but we think that it cannot be attributed to somebody's action, but it could just be sheer luck. Other place where you can find is, we publish our annual best funds collection. It's a very narrow list. It's a very small list. And once you zero in on your category, you will get the finest choice in that. Besides that, we are shortly going to launch our premium account, where this analyst choice will be a regular feature, will be a permanent feature. Not only a permanent feature, our analyst will be on top of it. So there won't be a periodicity to review. If something happens whereby a fund becomes extremely attractive or extremely unattractive for a specific reason, you will be getting a day-to-day update in terms of, whenever it happens. It's not that, something will happen on a day-to-day basis, but whenever something happens, you will be alerted. And as I said, that the ratings are a good starting point, but I don't think you should base all your any investment decision completely on mutual fund rating itself. Joseph Manuel is asking that what advice can you give to a retired person who has burned his fingers in investing in his hard-earned money in various mutual funds based on financial advisors' recommendations since 4 years, but ended up disappointed and with a flat growth? How can one recoup the losses he has suffered in coming years? I would say take your lesson. One is that don't blindly follow an advisor. Ask question and share information in terms of what do you want. Do you need income from your investment? Do you want your investment to grow steadily without taking a lot of risk? Because if you somebody who is giving you an advice, if he doesn't have that information, and also understand the advisor, is he capable to give you advice? Because if somebody is just saying that you will get this much return, I think that is the time when you should not be taking his advice. So take your lessons from the advice which has not worked for you. Try and understand the reason, what will make, what advice will be useful to you. You can also think through, and let me tell you, the best guardian of your money is yourself. Nobody can worry about your money, more than you. Everybody else will help you, and you have to look for a thoughtful guy, thoughtful person, thoughtful advisor, and there are many, there are some. But you will have to articulate what you want, ask question, validate things, because it's your money. So I would say that, the amount that you have to see, what is your income requirement? Do you necessarily depend on that income, or you have some, or the income will be a supplementary income? Maybe you don't need income from your investment, you just want your investment to grow steadily even in your retirement. That is what should drive your thing. And very soon, we will have a tool at Value Research as part of Premium, whereby, we will be able to give you a recommended list based on how much money you have, what is your income requirement, what is your experience of investment, what is the scale of investment. So it will be moderately customized, and it will be filled with funds which is handpicked by our analyst team. So it will not be just a robo-advisory. It will not be something which an algorithm throws up. It is a combination of algorithm combined with, analyst selectivity, or somebody, human beings using their judgment to choose funds and fill up your portfolio. That will be the manual part of it. That will be the manual thing. which will be populating, or which will be driving these recommendations. So just wait for a little more time, and you will have this. Otherwise, look for a good advisor, because one thing which an advisor will always be helpful, if you are able to find a good one, is that they turn out to be a nice coach. If he turns out to be a good coach, and if he's a respected one and you value his opinion, then there are two occasions in the market when you badly need him. One is when markets actually go to a point where you think that it is absolutely hopeless, and that is the worst time, when most people actually make their losses permanent. And there are other times when the market goes in a different orbit. It goes ballistic and it just goes up, and you are in a hurry to invest, because it looks like you are missing out every day if you don't invest. So these are two occasions when you need somebody to guide you, that the nature of the beast, and how to deal with it with moderation. So look for an advisor. Otherwise, Value Research Premium will be able to provide you most of the things which you'll be needing. And of course, read my first pages, subscribe to Value Research newsletters. Whenever there is a panic, whenever there is exuberance, I write and read it carefully, take your notes, read it twice, because these are things, because on special occasion, when you are completely guided by your emotion, you go wrong. So I try to build that. I try to use all my experience and communicate with you in right earnest, that if there is should you panic, should you not, should you get excited, is it the times of exuberance, how you should be behaving. Anand Pakyam is asking that I have a long-term horizon of 10 years plus and a moderately aggressive profile. I plan a portfolio of 70% equity, 30% debt. Of my equity investment, can I expect high growth from an allocation of 70% in large cap funds, 30% in mid and small cap? Or should I increase a little in the mid small caps? No, this is actually, representation of the market cap. You are actually going to be very selectively owning stocks, which is good representation of all the, all constituents of the market. If we go by the official definition of large caps are, top 100 companies by SEBI. Our sense is that 70% of the market cap is accounted for about as many companies. Next 150 is mid cap. That is another, 15-18% sometimes. And the remaining bottom 10-12% is small cap. So this is where you are, and go with it. I think the way to deal with it is, maybe make it 65, 20, and 15. If you do this, things will change over time, because small caps will rise more, then they will actually have a higher allocation. If you don't rebalance, it will be taken care of. But this is a good allocation to begin with. Gaurav Khanna is asking that should we continue our SIPs in multi-cap funds, considering the new rules given by SEBI mandating minimum percentage allocation to large caps, large, mid and small caps? Yes, continue by all means, because the notification that has come from SEBI will get diluted in a sense that SEBI is going to permit something called an multi-cap fund category. The SEBI chairman few days back announced that. And as a result of which, all the funds which will find it very difficult to comply with the new rules, they will migrate there and life will go on as usual. One thing which which has come on the forefront as a result of this SEBI notification is that many of the multi-caps, they cannot invest in small caps simply because they get bigger. Initially they used to. Now they cannot, because they have turned so big that even if they have small cap, it will not have an impact. It will be very difficult to have a meaningful allocation to small cap. So if you are investing in big multi-caps, consider investing a small amount of money, 10-15% in small caps as well, because multi-caps will not have exposure to small cap. Even the dynamic equity fund which have turned, in the multi-cap funds which are big, which will turn into a dynamic equity fund, they cannot meaningfully participate in small caps, and that is why it is not trying to be non-compliant, simply because it is not meaningful. A 40,000 crore fund which has to invest 25% into small cap will translate into a 10,000 crore small cap portfolio or holdings in a multi-cap, which is a very unwieldy thing to manage. So they can't. So look for your small cap exposure elsewhere if you are continuing to invest in multi-cap funds. Dinesh Abbey is asking that, are the focused fund also affected by recent SEBI guidelines on multi-cap funds? No. Multi-cap, the focused funds could be of any kind. They could be multi-cap, they could be large cap, they could be small cap. The whole idea is that, they are concentrated funds. They are not supposed to exceed their, have more than 30 holdings, to my understanding, in their portfolio. And most of them have about 15, 20 stocks in their portfolio. So they are more concentrated. That is why they're more volatile. And actually it reflects high conviction bets. And sometimes when they fail, they will fail very big, they will fail in a very grand way because they are concentrated. And when they succeed, understandably, they will succeed big time. So going to the next question, Parthiban is asking that in this age, there is no limit for information that enforce our action on specific stocks. Even though Value Research team provides regular updates on all its recommendations, still individual behavior forces to take independent buy or sell actions. Is this because we access a lot of information? I would say that you are true. We also get carried by a lot of opinion, and I think I have 2-3 suggestions for you, and I'm also trying to learn and insulate myself. Just look for that digital. There is one. I'm going to watch this sometime today, which is what is a great documentary on the impact of social media on our minds, on one of the OTTs, and which is how to insulate ourselves, because this is a whole new thing that has happened. We are spending so much time, more so while being at home, and people like us, they are spending so much time on Twitter, reading blogs, reading books, and trying to correlate. So the impact of the digital age we live in, and the impact of social media on our minds, and it is actually creating a lot of bias. It is quite self-reinforcing. The kind of thing that you read, you end up reading more of that, because that is how the artificial intelligence of all these social platforms work. Besides that, I think, there is another thing which is impacting our mind. The transaction, your ability to do transaction has become so smooth. I have written a column. Look for it in a day or two. That is actually, I have written a column which is going to be the edit of Wealth Insight magazine, the coming issue, which is going to get released today. And so look for that digital version on the website if you're a subscriber, and read that edit. I am quite perturbed by the kind of impact and the amount of information we are reading. I don't know how much we are absorbing, and how much we are absorbing in a permanent way, in a durable way, which is actually impacting, or which is influencing our behavior. So that's one. There is a free ebook on Value Research Online. Just go log into Value Research Online. If you are a registered user, you'll be able to download it free. If not, do your free registration and download this. Know your behavioral bias, because we are so greatly influenced by what is happening now, that we actually are missing. We might be missing out on what will happen even day after, and we don't really care for that. And there is an old column of mine which you should read, which is, just go into the search box and look, The Cycle Inside Your Mind. It's a slightly long and, it's a nuanced view, but, how to insulate, because we get so carried by what we have, the recency and the impact. So these are few things which can actually help you. But more importantly, if you are a subscriber of Value Research Stock Advisor, we are giving you all tools. We are giving you 3 layers of recommendation. One is the best buys. Then you see the long list of recommendations, about 40 of them. And then there are some of them which we are re-recommending. We find that some of those companies, something happened to them, which makes them even more attractive. Their story has changed a little bit and has become, the attractiveness grown. So formulate your rule. We at Value Research believe that you don't need prescription. We are going to be a great aid. We will do all the heavy lifting. We will do all the hard work in terms of our, large number of analysts will be looking at things very closely. We'll be keeping you posted. All the developments that happen, We will post you about those happenings. Not only that, we will tell you the impact in terms of, is it a very damning thing, is it a very permanent damage, it is a short-term thing, or is it a cyclical thing, or is it a very fairly routine thing. And that you will be seeing, and wherever there is a need to actually warrant some action, we will do that. So we will do all the hard work. We will give you a curated list. We will help you narrow that universe, but discipline is yours. All your investment performance will be attributed to not value research, but your discipline and belief and conviction and your behavior. So I would say that it's very important to behave yourself and develop a method of, how you should be conducting and why. Once you do that, I think, 5-10 years, it'll be a completely different thing, because it's a very simple thing. You invest in stocks. It's a general bet on economy. You are choosing in a narrower universe, which is more promising. And compounding of, the magic of compounding works. If you leave your money in bank account, it earns 2.5% or 4%. Fixed income fund get you 6-7%. And if you are able to compound at 10-12% with your belief, but 10-12% or 10-12-15%, I don't know what the future will be, but that will be substantially more, simply because, and that reward comes not because, values of stock recommendations are good. Of course, they have to be good as well. But if you actually buy high and sell low, our recommendations, you will not make money. That will require, you sticking through a plan, working on a methodical plan, not panic at the bad time, or, not getting too excited, not borrowing to invest money. So those rules remain, and you will be responsible for the wealth that you build and we will be helping you. P. Vamsi Krishna is asking that I am a victim of Karvy. I have raised complaint with SEBI, but no use. Whenever I ask update, SEBI is closing existing request and opening new ticket. From last year, payout is not happening from Karvy. I have to receive 1.33 lakh. How to proceed further? Please help. Go to that score system. File your complaint. SEBI is at it, and I think SEBI is at it in terms of, I know that they're working very hard to recover the money. Many people were able to recover their money. The ones which Bajaj Finserv or one such company, it was mortgaged to, the lien was taken off, and you got your securities. I'm not very much intimately in the know, but I know that SEBI is working very hard to recover your money. Good number of investors have got their money back, and this definitely is a fraud of kind. So I have to get on top of it. If you share more details, I'll try and guide you through more nuanced way of approaching it. But I think SEBI score system, this is flagged. A lot of people have been helped. Some people, some people like you, be at it. I don't think this money is going down the tube. This is a fraud perpetrated by Karvy on investors. Rohit Saxena is asking that our short duration debt funds are safe option to generate consistent risk-free return. These funds have given more than 8% return every year till now, and looks attractive in the current market scenario, as interest in fixed deposits are decreasing every other month. Yes. The return that we have seen from debt so far is unlikely to be there, or is unlikely to be repeated in the near future or even medium term future, because interest rates are low. I don't think they are going up in a hurry, and the yields will not go up. And because and whatever the appreciation that had to happen on the debt funds because the interest rates came down, that has already happened. You have seen that 20% return in the worst of times for equities from the gilt funds. So one is that we have to lower our expectation. It is not going to get repeated. You will have to look for relatively higher yielding, but at the same time, there is also great risk. You have seen the Franklin crisis. You have seen that, and there could still be some risk lurking ahead in terms of, we know that the economy is not in great shape. The companies which borrow, some of them might fall in difficulty if they don't pay their principal and interest on time. Some of these funds will get downgraded, which means they will decline in value if these funds hold such bonds. Some of the bonds, issued by those companies might default. Some of them, so you have to be extremely careful. Look for a safer debt fund, and for a marginally higher return, don't put your capital at risk. I would like you to err on the side of caution. For 0.5% more, 1% more, you can't take a risk where your 100% capital might get stuck. So settle for lower return, and the money that you are unlikely to, and look for an asset allocation. Invest some money in equity. Invest some part of your money in equity steadily, so that you are able to average, and that money you should not be expecting any return from that, and it must be for 3 to 5 years at least, and that is the hope that you will have, that it will be able to produce some return which will supplement your general income from fixed income. Victor D'Souza is asking that I have 15 lakh rupees for investment. I have decided to put the amount in debt fund. Please suggest the fund. I'm senior citizen, aged 67 years. Mr. D'Souza, it requires little more understanding in terms of, do you need income from this investment, or this is a long-term investment for your children or grandchildren or whoever. You just want this money to be, because it entirely is a function of what is your configuration. Are you getting some pension? Are you getting some real rental income? Or if you have some agriculture income, whatever it be. So it requires more understanding. But yes, for conservative investor, you have this whole range. You should be investing in debt fund, or you should be investing in conservative allocation fund, and look no further. So your options are limited either way, even if you need income or not. And your options are not mutual funds. If this 15 lakh rupee and you need definite income from this, then I think you have to do nothing. You just put your money in senior citizen savings scheme. It is the safest thing available in India, and it will generate little over 7%, and you will be guaranteed of quarterly income from this, and that is it. Look no further. Debashish Chaudhary is asking that with the economic indicators and market indicators moving in opposite direction and high level of uncertainty, how does a person who is about to retire without pension manage his retirement fund? Looking into the interest rates and probability of market going into depression for a prolonged phase. Yes, this is going to be one of the most uncertain times that I have witnessed in recent, in many years, because, and this uncertainty is rooted in the reality of the surrounding that we exist today, which is because most other crises in the past, whether it was 2000, the dot-com crisis, the market crumbled globally, but that was a very narrow market-led thing. 2008 was also a financial difficulty, financial sector difficulty, which percolated or permeated from US with their, real estate crisis or, subprime crisis, and got spread world over. This is something which is world over. It's happening in the real world, and that has led to reduced economic activity, consumption and production substantially, and that will translate into something that has translated into something unusual. And I don't know, we are assuming that there will be a status quo, but I don't think there is ever a status quo. Markets are always uncertain. Of course, the scale of uncertainty or the degree of uncertainty today is of an unprecedented kind. There are businesses which will die. There are businesses which will prosper. There are businesses which will actually, nothing will happen. They will be they will just be in preservation mode. And I don't think we invest in equity to preserve. We invest in equity for growth. But I think, this too will pass. And whether it happens in 1 year, whether it happens in 3 years, and your retirement corpus has to last for much longer. Think of the rising mortality, age, the increasing in mortality rate, not mortality rate, the longevity of general Indians. So I think, your retirement saving has to last much longer. And For that, you have to take your chances. It will require careful planning. It will require careful planning depending on what is the scale of your accumulation. What is your income requirement from your investment, and your income requirement, how much, how flexible it is, your general health condition, because that is going to be one of the biggest one-time expense or periodic expense depending on your circumstances. So I would say that it requires careful planning. Once we launch our premium account, you will be able to work on a retirement plan for yourself, retirement investment plan for yourself, in a very nuanced manner. But I will give you the principles, which is you should, it will require investing in fixed income as well as equity. Investing in fixed income for stability. Investing in fixed income of various kinds. Your first stop should be, which will generate guaranteed income, the senior citizen savings scheme, or the post office MIP, or the LIC Yojana. That can take up to, something like 35 lakh rupees. That is the maximum that you can invest there. But that will provide you guaranteed income of a meaningful kind, and they are pretty high even as compared to bank deposits. And beyond that, you will have to invest in fixed income fund and equity fund. Investing in equity has to be a fairly, you shouldn't be investing at one go. So these are principles to follow. How much exactly, it requires careful planning, calculation, and it is also a function of your experience. If you have never invested in a market linked investment which turns out to be volatile, you need a different, more stable vehicle to begin with. If you have experienced that, and if you're comfortable with that, then you can actually go up the volatility range for higher, seeking higher return. I don't think there is a simpler way around this. It requires careful planning, and use the portfolio planner on the premium account as and when we are launching it, and it's some time away, a few weeks away. JB Jacob is asking that in a mutual fund SIP, what is the extra amount one loses in a regular plan compared to a direct plan? Is this loss only at the time of investment or continue every year till the fund is sold? Let me just explain you this with an example. Assuming that if there's a fund and there are two plans in it, one is a direct plan and the other is a regular plan. The regular plan charges say 2% and the direct plan charges 1%. All the charges of mutual fund are on a continuous basis. There is nothing one time. And that is what SEBI has done over a period of time, that they don't allow any one time charge. There is no upfront expense or anything. So the difference is that if you earn 10%, if your investments earn 10%, then you will get 9% return in the direct plan. If your investments earn 10% and you are in the regular plan, your earning will be 8%. So the difference of 1% will be compounded over a period of time. So in 15, 20, 25, 30 years, it can become very meaningful. Look for a story on Value Research Online, that what is the long-term impact of the difference in expenses of a direct and regular plan over 15 year, 20 year, 25 year, 40 year. That turns out to be very substantial. You could just be having 20% less money or 30% less money as a result of this 1% difference, because the expense charge on investment is not on your return. It is the expense which is charged on all the money that you have put in, all the investment that you have made. So that is why it translates into something very sizable. Kishore Kumar is asking that why do we need to go for portfolio adjustments with debt and gold when my investment is for more than 7 to 10 years? Can't the portfolio just be 100% equity? Yes, if you are comfortable with it and if you don't have meaningful accumulation, one can well have 100% allocation. If you are starting your SIP of 5,000 or 10,000 rupees today, you don't need to do asset allocation. You start worrying about your money and you start becoming careful about, or you have far greater regret only once your money has grown to something meaningful. Assuming that you keep doing this 10,000 rupees a month and after 4 or 5 years it becomes 5, 7, 10 lakh rupees. Then when you see a 20% decline in market, your 10 lakh rupee becomes 8 lakh. That is when you panic, or that is when you worry, or that is when you get anxious. To save you from that, you need asset allocation, so that it turns out to be, once you have accumulated something, then you need to really become a little more stable. just in case the market corrects. So asset allocation is a way of, methodically realigning or making your investment relatively more stable, realizing gains from your, performing part to relatively stable part in a performing market, or investing from into non-performing equity at the inopportune time. But if you are fine with all the ups and downs, 100% equity is also fine. Prashant Balachandran is asking that liquid funds fell recently due to interest rate action. Wasn't that mark-to-market losses and wouldn't be invested in them for 90 days, make sure there is zero loss and the bonds get redeemed at face value? Yes, absolutely. But there is another problem, that these are open-end funds. If many investors redeem their investments, then the fund will be forced to sell. Also, SEBI has driven in the last 6 months, all the fixed investment in fixed income of all kind to market are being marked to market. So earlier there was some kind of artificial stability of these investments, no longer. But yes, if the capital remains constant, then these losses will not become permanent, and you will be able to recover all the losses that have happened. Vidya Iyer is asking that I have been investing in Franklin Templeton's focused equity fund since 2014. Now that it has been rated 2-star, what should be my next step? Stay invested for a few years or switch to a multi-cap fund? Yeah, this fund has been extremely disappointing in recent years. It was a great fund and it remained a great fund, but the whole Franklin Templeton fixed income fund crisis has driven many investors to pull their money out. Some of their bets also hasn't worked. So these two things combined together, its relative underperformance in the multi-cap category of value research has dragged so poor performance has dragged this fund to 2-star, and it has been a steady decline to 2-star. I think it is about time to move your money. Arvind is asking that I have a question pertaining to debt funds. I have ultra short, low duration short-term debt fund which have AA rated papers. What should I do? Should I redeem them? Will have to pay tax on or switch them to banking and PSU fund like IDFC, Axis or buy liquid funds? Amount stuck in Franklin Ultra Short-Term Bond Fund. Let me give you a small good news that Franklin Templeton Ultra Short-Term Bond Fund has 35% of the money in cash. So, and the fund has also, the fund company in its, and the hearing is on in Bangalore High Court. The bench is hearing it every day. Of course, in between there was some disruption, it was not happening. And the latest information that I have got from that hearing is that the fund company has offered or made a plea that if SEBI or the court allows them to return the money which is lying in cash of these funds, they would like to do it immediately, because because the rule is that it is subject to the voting by the unit holders. But if the court or SEBI permits them, then they would like to return the money, which which is substantial money in case of ultra short-term bond fund. You will get 1/3 of your money, more than 1/3 of your money, 35% of the money is in cash, and they're getting a part of the money periodically. So, and the hearing is on, and maybe next week something comes out of it. I don't think there is any, it's not a matter of jurisprudence that, it is investors' money and everybody is working towards protecting investors' investment money. And I hope that, the court takes a view that, okay, return the money which is already there, and while the hearing can carry on. That to my thing, it will be a very judicious thing and will be a very helpful thing. And other funds also have, modest amount of cash available, but ultra short-term bond fund could be a big beneficiary. So that's a good update. The other is that your key question, that AA rated papers. Look at the papers. There are AA which, AA is not default grade. AA is something, if you have, you will have to look little deeper into this. I do one thing when I have to look for AA rated, look for the AA names in the funds of the companies, AA names of investments in your fund. So if there is a company which is listed, go to Value Research Online, look for that company, and look for, there is a question in the Value Research stock pages for all the companies which are listed. It won't be there for all the companies. Look for Z-score, which is what is the likelihood of a company going bankrupt? Is it really a very bad cash flow situation? And you will see a symbol, which is, it is a scale of 1 to 9. And if it is an alarming one, you will get a yes or no, or, not likely. Look for those companies. Of course, I don't say that it is a foolproof way, but it is one indicative thing. You can, because the AA universe will also be of two kinds. There are companies which will look AA, but they are far worse. There are companies which look AA, and they could be far better. So that is one indicative thing. And also look for in absolute terms, what is the allocation to AA? If it is 2%, if it is 3%, if it is 5%, it doesn't matter. Look for the maturity period. If it is going to mature in 3 months' time, things will actually come out. So I don't think, Franklin incident has actually scared everybody, and I think everybody should err on the side of caution. One should be asking the kind of question that you are asking, but you will also, cause a lot of tax incidents, or, if you actually act in a huff. So exercise some diligence and act accordingly. Dilip Sahi is asking, okay, this is in this particular question, I would like to, give you one thing which we are, because based on this requirement, based on the kind of question that you are asking, in Value Research Premium, we are going to provide you a mechanism that all the mainstream debt and equity fixed income category, we will be giving you an opinion in terms of whether it is a fund worth holding and buying more, whether it is a fund which may not be worth buying, but if you have it, don't sell it. There is nothing substantially awkward with it. And there are funds which are clearly sell. And there are kind of funds which, which at Value Research we think that nobody should have bought it in the first place. It's a kind of category. We always keep telling you that, this is a category where you should not invest. For example, infrastructure fund, or many of the sector funds, or, banking and finance fund. Those funds might have promised for somebody, but we think that nobody should buy it, because if you are investing in a multi-cap fund, maybe 25-30% of your money is banking and finance stock only. And if you invest in a banking and finance fund, it will only supplement it and skew your portfolio or make it concentrated and make it riskier. So for each and every investable fund, we will be giving you a very clear buy, sell or hold. And there's a category of, a great buy, which is, the set of analyst choice with Value Research people, and there are only 25-30 of such funds. So you will be very soon you will be getting a guidance on this from Value Research on all the investable funds. Dilip Sahi is asking that should I exit fully from the existing funds having large net asset or having large international equity exposure in one go or in phases? I don't know why you are asking this. If you need the money, then take your money out. But unless you tell me the reason why you want to do it, what is the idea, what is the intention. If you need the money, it might be a good time. But most of the time, I suggest that one should, exactly the reverse of what I say, how you should go about investing. One should be investing regularly. And if you need the money at a certain point for a certain goal, you should be disinvesting regularly. So if you need the money 1 year from now, you should start disinvesting regularly. But if there is some reason which is prompting you, I don't know why you should be exiting the international equity and all the equity funds with having large net asset, because even the multi-cap problem that was there is getting resolved. So I need to know the reason why you want to. It is just like that, or it is because of the multi-cap crisis, or is it because of a need? Then my answer will vary accordingly. A. Kumar is asking that what is the difference between normal returns versus long-term returns calculation for stock or NAV of mutual funds for very long time? No, there is no there is no difference in return. There is small difference in the way we look at, stock return and fund return, in the way that, if you look at the growth plan of a mutual fund, and if you do a NAV to NAV comparison, that itself is the return. So if you bought a fund in a regular plan, in the growth plan of a mutual fund 5 years ago at 10 rupee, and if it has become 20 rupees in 5 years time, that is your return. 10 rupees is the return over the last 5 years. Simple return is just 20%, and compounded it will be little less, so you get annualized compound return on Value Research for all returns over 1 year. In case of stock, it will be different. In case of stock, it will be different, because if you bought a stock at 10 rupee and today it is 20 rupee and in between it gave some dividend, the return has to be adjusted for dividend, because that is also your return. So the total return from stock needs to be calculated little carefully based on the cash flow that it has generated in between. Because you bought a stock at 10 rupee and if you sell that stock at 20 rupee, that is not the only return that you got. You also got some periodic return by way of dividend, and that return has to be adjusted. And for that, we calculate the internal rate of return based on the cash flow, and that is what you see in your portfolio manager at Value Research. Value Research Portfolio Manager adjusts all your returns for any bonus issue that has been issued by the company, or any split that has happened, because there are companies where the face value was 10 rupee, it has been turned into 2 rupee or 1 rupee, so you got more shares and your older shares. So if you had 100 shares and it was 10 rupee face value, and now it is the face value has turned from 10 to 1, now you will be having 1000 shares, and the price will accordingly get adjusted. So all these things happens automatically in Value Research Portfolio Manager. These look like very simple things, but it requires accuracy, it requires rigor, and it requires precision and timeliness, because one fine day you will find that your investment portfolio is looking like this stock is down 90%, but it is not down 90%. Only the stock price is down 90%, but you have been issued more shares. So track your portfolios, even your stock portfolio, at Value Research Online to be on top of things with confidence and precision. Kavan Jain is asking that, keeping current scenario in mind, after fixed deposit, which is the safest place to park money with complete surety of slightly better gain? If you are old, you have the option, which is senior citizen savings scheme, maybe the post office MIP, or they are safe. They are safe because that is the safest that you can get in this country. Sovereign guarantee. After that, a notch below, I think you will have to look for the short-term bond fund with no allocation to lower-rated bonds and things like that. If you have time, if you are relatively young, and this is going to be a long-term investment, even have some allocation to equity, because if you don't take any risk, you will have no meaningful gain. And my worry is that many investors who are becoming completely risk averse, they are likely to see that their money will go down in value, where even though in absolute terms you might see that, okay, your 1000 rupee has become 1040 because it earned 4% return or 6% return, but your actual inflation might be more than that. So if based on that inflation that we are facing today, if your money grows less than the inflation that you face, your money has gone down, even though apparently or optically it might look that it has gone up. So take some measured risk with a small part of your money. Do it with a long-term orientation. But I think it requires careful judgment in terms of what your needs are, what your income is. So thank you very much. I am done with today's question. Thank you for joining in, and I'll be back again next week to answer your questions.